speaking of a member of CCA, Dave is a life member
Yes,
as well
I am.
as
Thanks
Brie.
to you, pal.
And I got to tell you, I'm really proud of the fact that we're here at the CCA workbench. We're getting ready to talk about rigs and techniques for crappie, so let's go at it.
Well, you know, crappie are one of the top game fish in Texas to catch, and a couple reasons. You know, they get into big schools, so you can catch a bunch of them when you find them. They're usually really ready to eat. You know, sometimes they can be a little skittish, but if you bring enough stuff, you can probably figure out what they're eating at the time. And they're just really good to eat when you do catch them. You know, when you get a bunch of them, you can feed a lot of people. So they're, you know, very, very targeted fish. You know, there's two types that live in Texas. We got the white crappie and the black crappie. The white crappie is completely all over the state, but the black crappie is mostly in East Texas and some of that clear tannic, more water. But you can tell the difference between them. A white crappie has kind of like bars on them. The splotches form into bars, and the black crappie he's got black splotches and specks on him. But they'll both blacken out during the spawn, so you know it's kind of hard to tell just by looking at them. You got to look at their spines, their dorsal spines and whatnot, to really figure them out. But to go about catching them, like the last fellow was up there was talking about, to use a live minnow is probably the best way to catch them. And if you know, you can buy a rig already made up, like one of these that are made to keep the minnows from swimming into the main line. They have these little keepers on them that keep the bait swimming away from the main line a little bit. And what they'll do is you can get put a couple of live minnows on there, and you can sort of troll it around with your electric trolling motor or drift. But if you're using an electric trolling motor, there's a little tip, you know, that they say is you don't want to keep these things, you don't want them straight up and down. You don't want to be going so slow that the minnow can swim back into the line. Right. And you don't want it to be going so fast that it blows up, you know, and gets out of the way. You want it to be about a 15-degree angle so that everything stays apart from each other and the fish still have a good shot at getting them.
I would imagine on a windy day you don't have to troll at all. You probably
Correct. You just put them out and drift. If you've got it's better to have a little bit of a windy day than flat calm, and that's pretty much with any fishing. But to locate these fish, most of the time in the spring, right now, is at the tail end of the spawn, they're probably starting to move out. It's getting hot. They're already starting to move out into the deep. But between mid-February to up until mid-March, the water gets 60 degrees. They start to look to spawn. They start to get inshore, just like the brim do. They nest just like they'll make little nests in that water in 6 feet of water all the way up to 1 foot of water, and they'll go into the backs of coves or any place where there's some deep brush and where they can fan out and make a nest just like a brim does. And they'll do that in this springtime. But once the summer comes and it starts to heat up, they'll go out deep. And they'll be in that standing timber, you know, 15 to 20 feet of water over deep brush piles, deep stream beds that have come and gone in the past and are now deep. And what you need to do is you need to have a really good depth finder. These days, the Garmin with the side scan and the down scan, once you find them, that's always been the hardest part, because they will move around and they'll stage up in different areas, a lot of times around bridges, docks and whatnot. You know, you have to really look for them sometimes. But once you find them, you know, you can start targeting them. And first off, you're going to start with those live minnows. If you don't have live minnows, then you want to use jigs. I showed you this jig here. This is my favorite jig. This is a horse head jig, which if you take a really good look at it, you can see why it's called that. It's got a little down drop on it. And it looks like a horse's head. And this one's called a road runner because it's got that little spinner on it. But I put the Crappie Dapper from Bass Assassin on there, and that's my favorite deal. And I'll troll this around, and I'll tell you,
that doesn't look like a minnow.
It looks exactly like a minnow, and I almost catch as many bass on it as I do crappie. They actually, when I'm trying to catch crappie, the bass become a pain in the butt because I'm trying to catch them. And here's another Bass Assassin as well.
This is the pan.
This is the panfish. The Pan Assassin. So both of those jigs work. And when you get located over the top of those fish, they'll usually be in the summertime. They'll usually be over a thermocline. And what you'll want to do is you'll want to present the baits above the school. You don't want to, you know, it's not like a bass who sometimes will go down and pick stuff off the bottom. Usually all those crappie, they're going to eat the stuff that's right at them or that's up in the up higher in the water column, so that they will rise up to it. And any of these little jigs, or the marabou jig especially, the crappie jigs for the marabou jig, the little fluffy ones, they work really great.
So tell us about your vacation. We got a few pictures here of you.
Okay, yeah. Me and my son, we were in Wyoming at Jackson Hole, and we went fishing for cutthroat trout. My son caught all the great big ones there. He's a big Florida Gator and very proud of it, and the band there. But it was beautiful country. You can see in the background there. We just had some great fishing. That guide there was really good fellow. His name was Glenn.
He was patient.
He spent a lot of time with my son and really helped him out, and we had a blast.
I can tell by who caught the fish, right?
He caught all the big ones.
Awesome,
Yeah.
you guys. Look at the dads cashing in a weekend before Father's Day. All right.